terrible string of assassinations and attempted assassinations starting in Dallas in 1963. Right now, as we wait to hear from President Biden, we're joined by House Speaker Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, thanks for being with us tonight. What are you hoping to hear from President Biden tonight?
Well, it's a dark time in the history of the country. This is a dangerous time, and we've been suggesting that all elected officials, from the president on down, really try to draw the country together. We need a unified message. We need to turn the temperature down. And I think it's a time for moral clarity. I mean, I think everyone in elected office has a responsibility in all of this, and we need to remind this country that we're all together. You know, there's no place for this rhetoric that has heated up the political environment, and it leads to this kind of action, and we all have to do our part. So I hope that he'll take that seriously.
How do you think that happens? Because as you know, this is something that is happening on all sides of the political aisle, from Democrats, from certainly from Republicans. How does that happen?
Look, there are offenders on both sides, of course. We've got to get back to civility in this country. I mean, I'm one that tries to work on that in Congress. There are others as well. But here's the thing. I mean, it's an objective truth that Donald Trump is probably the most persecuted and attacked political figure in history, certainly among presidents, maybe at least since Abraham Lincoln, Civil War era. And that takes a toll. I mean, when my colleagues go out, Democrat colleagues, and say democracy will end, the republic will be in an emergency stage if Donald Trump wins for president, it's just not true. It's another election. And when they say that kind of rhetoric and they heat it up like that, there are people out there that take these things to heart and they act upon them. Politicians are not responsible for that, but we do have a responsibility to be responsible. I mean, you know, we're not asking for much. Let's just dial the rhetoric down. Let's have a vigorous debate. That's what our country's built upon. But we have to see one another as fellow Americans and not enemies.
I do want to point out, just for fairness, I don't want to get into an argument about this, but the former president himself has also used that kind of rhetoric. He said on June 27th, Joe Biden is a threat to democracy, a threat to the survival and existence of our country itself. That's certainly the same kind of language you're talking about.
Listen, everybody is prone to overstatement, okay? I mean, a few days ago, earlier this week, I mean, Joe Biden actually said we need to put Donald Trump in the bullseye. I mean, right? I don't think either of those men meant to imply anything beyond just rhetoric. But the point is, the rhetoric has consequences when you have a heated environment and you have a political division in this country like we have. In the age of social media, everything is amplified, and everyone can go on and turn the dials up every day. We need to work on bringing that down so that we can have thoughtful debate and we can have policy debates and discussions and not all the rest of this.
It is extraordinary that this was able to take place. Obviously, there's a failure somewhere of law enforcement, unclear who at this stage, but the fact that a shooter was able to get a high position that close with a line of sight on the former president at a major event like this is shocking.
It is shocking, and I've called last night for hearings. We're going to do this as quickly as possible, get the answers that the American people deserve. What happened here? I mean, I think pretty clearly there was a security lapse at least, and we need to find out, for example, why were drones not used in the area? I've not gotten a satisfactory answer on that yet. I mean, that seems pretty obvious that you would do that so you could see people on rooftops. This one, from the vantage point of the stage, was just seemingly an easy thing to monitor, and they didn't. Of course, we've all heard the eyewitness accounts of people on the ground who saw a guy with a gun on the rooftop. Why wasn't it stopped sooner? Lots of questions. We have more questions than we have answers, but Congress is going to get down to the bottom of this.
Speaker Mike Johnson, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you. Jake?
Thanks, Anderson.
And Anderson, we're just about 5 minutes or so away from when President Biden is supposed to deliver his address to the nation. As soon as we are told, we will bring that to our viewers and listeners live. With me here in Milwaukee, CNN political commentators Ashley Allison, David Axelrod, David Urban, also CNN chief national correspondent John King. John, what did you make of what Speaker Johnson just said?
Well, I think he's absolutely right in saying this is a time for everybody to step back and be Americans. And a reprehensible thing happened yesterday. And it's a moment of reflection. you do hear, I think Anderson's question was right, in that no matter what your politics, no matter what you do for a living, whether you sit here like us and we're on live television sometimes and occasionally your tongue gets out ahead of your brain, we should think about what we say. Whether you're a postman, whether you're having political debates at the office, you should think about what you say. Because words matter. And I think we see from time to time at horrible events like this one's on a bigger scale, obviously, because it's the former president of the United States in the middle of a presidential campaign, but Speaker Scalise, kids in schools. Let's not forget kids in schools. Something happens to somebody that makes them step over the edge. It might be different circumstances in different places, but something happens to somebody that gets them step over the edge. And when these things happen, there's should be policy conversations. I covered the White House for 10 years. It's been a long time since I covered the White House, but I covered the White House for 10 years. I was never at an event with a building like that where you didn't see snipers on all the roofs.
Yeah, it's surprising.
That's just when I saw the diagram, and there was no sniper on that. There were snipers on this roof, but not that roof. That's 101 from those days. But in terms of the tone of the country, it's hard. It's hard. There's a convention hall behind us. Conventions they should be about red meat and about great political conversations and about great policy conversations. But at a moment like this, I hope everybody, whatever your perspective, would just take 5 minutes and just think, what do I want to say? What animates me most? And maybe should I be a little bit more careful about my words?
There really is a dehumanization that we've seen in politics long before yesterday, whether it is people mocking when Senator Rand Paul was assaulted, people making fun of Paul Pelosi, some bigwigs in the Republican Party making fun of the serious assault on Paul Pelosi, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband. It is a time for everyone to dial it back.
Well, I would just say there's no doubt about it, but we live in the age of social media where hate and outrage and conspiracy theories are actually profitable. And we've seen politics sort of mirror that. And this is a huge challenge for the country. And listen, I give the speaker credit because I think his tone as speaker has been different in a way. And I think he deserves credit for that. But, the reality is that there are things you can't erase. I mean, we all remember January 6th. We remember the president's rhetoric then. Just a few weeks ago, he retweeted a tweet in which Liz Cheney was accused of treason, and it said, "Read truth if you want televised military tribunals," and he did. So I think the speaker should talk to the president as well, because he has done his share to put us where we are.
David?
Yeah, I was just going to say, look, Axel, you and I will disagree on this. There's no excuse. Like that's like blaming the victim a little bit here, right? Like, so somebody gets assaulted, you blame the victim. We shouldn't have been wearing that outfit, or that man deserved to being hit by a car or whatever.
And he's not saying that.
It's a little indirectly he is, but you got to condemn this outright. Actually, you got to condemn it outright, right? There's no justification.
David, I've condemned it from the very beginning. I abhor that. There's no place for that. But I don't think it's also not clear.
You can't say January 6th is the reason the president almost got killed yesterday.
Did I say that?
You kind of.
I said the speaker said we have to lower our voice,
and
I'm suggesting that he should speak to his own candidate
and I agree.
as well.
And we should speak to lots of Democrats, lots of Republicans. The president of the United States had some rhetoric, heated rhetoric.
Well, let's start. Let's do this. Let's start by not putting words in my mouth.
Okay. Well, I'm not. I'm just saying. You say.
Let me bring it to Ashley for 1 second.
But I don't want. I just want to say, January 6th did not cause what happened.
I don't think he was
nobody
saying
said that.
I don't think he was saying that. Ashley, I mean, we have right here.
But we're still friends. Look, we're still friends.
Yes, and it's words. It's not violence. But it is a reminder that people, in addition to watching what they say, maybe people need to listen.
Yeah, I saw someplace someone said our muscle for listening has atrophied. That we always need to have the hottest 140 character tweet, and you got to get out there first. I am still struggling to make sense of this moment because I've said it this morning. Like Donald Trump and I's politics are not the same at all.
Americans.
But
here we go.
I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics.